Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, the journey of an entrepreneur or a CEO of a small company can be often a lonely journey. Sometimes the entrepreneur gets burned out on their own company. What happens? They hire a guy like my next guest. Jeremy Howell is in the studio. You'll meet him next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, as the owner of a small company, I can tell you from personal experience, sometimes the journey of the entrepreneur is a lonely journey, and you need to find a tribe. You need to find people who understand the road that you're walking and can support you during the highs and the lows. Jeremy Howell is in the studio. He's with Impact Value Coaching. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I should start the show by saying he's a serial entrepreneur. He's already got 7 companies. I bet he created 3 in the last half hour. So he's walked the walk, and there's a lot of coaches out there who've, have read a lot of books, but don't really know what it's like in the trenches. So share a little bit of your journey.
So in order for me to be a great business leader, I had to be a really bad one at first, if that makes sense. And that's how I got where I am today is I was so bad at it that burnout kicked in. Not with just me, but my wife. So after about maybe, 8 months of running a business, the one that 24/7 dealing with people, caring for them. So there was a lot of stress involved just in that alone. But then you got the actual running of the business. I watched my wife lose her hair, lose sleep, get stressed to the point where even one thought, hives would break out on her chest. And that was my breaking point there because it was my best friend going down. So I had an option, either, cut everything and go back to what I used to do, which wasn't good, or invest in myself to the point where I was the best business leader that I would ever know.
Incredible. We're going to pull up your website, and as we scroll down the website, describe what a great client looks like for you.
So that great client is one a lot like me and my wife were, missing ball games, with their kids, or pulling late nighters with no end in sight. We make business harder than it needs to be, and I love to show that clarity. With just a few calls, you'll have that clarity on what it is that you're doing, what the mission is, and how to reclaim your time.
So how do you help business owners and entrepreneurs who are stuck or burned out? And tell us what an engagement looks like.
Well, first things first, I always go through and look at the KPIs, the numbers, because that's where your clarity lies. What are you doing that's actually moving that needle? Once we realize that, the clarity alone will have them sleeping better at night and understanding the direction that they want to go. So just to put it short, that's where I start.
Well, and if you think about most small business owners, let's say a guy is good at making donuts, he creates a store, and then suddenly he creates 2 stores and 3 stores, and suddenly he's away from the thing that he loved to do, which was baking, and now he's managing teams, and they can easily lead to burnout.
Of course, yeah. That's where proper delegation comes in and leadership development. Because with each store that this guy's creating, he's got to have another Jeremy, so to speak, right? He has to have somebody that's going to be filling in where you wouldn't be able to. So that's one of my expertise is, first of all, being able to find quality leaders. They're not every manager is created equal, right? As far as leadership. So you have to really know my process is different than everybody's, but I like to share my process and how I find those leaders. John Maxwell's DISC, I'm a trainer on that, and that's done wonders in my business because I'm able to identify who would be a great leader and who maybe would be a great manager, which are two totally different things.
And you have 7 companies, so are you at the stage where you and your wife can go on a 7-day vacation and not worry about those 7 businesses?
Of course, yeah. So as a master delegator, I travel the world. I spent a month in Costa Rica a month and a half ago. So yes, and I do that on purpose. Like I purposely test my systems by leaving. So when I get back, I can fine tune them.
That's beautiful. You're very passionate about relationships, so talk a little bit about that.
Well, if anybody was to tell me that they don't pay attention to relationships in their business, I'm looking at a failed business. That is the number one way to keep a client is by having a great relationship with them. But that's also the human spirit. We don't want to do things alone. We want to be by ourselves. We want to experience things by ourselves. So naturally, relationships is somewhere that I automatically want to,
Absolutely.
think about first.
And Jeremy produces a lot of content. He's got dozens and dozens of videos out there. I found one that I really like. Let's go ahead and roll that.
You want to achieve something big? 3 things. Create a vision statement. First, you have to have a vision, but create that statement, put it on paper so you can clearly articulate it and then share it with others. Then create a mission statement because everybody has to understand the mission. You have to remind them from time to time if you're going to be a great leader. And the last thing I would do is create your non-negotiables, your core values. Write that down and put it where people can see it and resonate with it. What that's going to do is going to attract the right people into your organization to help bring about that vision. Peace.
So powerful. So I want to go back to how you engage your clients. How do you know what a good client looks like?
Just what I said in that video, I'm attracting my ideal client by my vision, mission, and core values. I'm going to not just attract my clientele, but also employees that would love to work for an organization like mine. So I'm very clear on my vision and my mission.
Yes.
And
business owners have blind spots, and it's sometimes it's something the employees may not feel comfortable telling the boss, and so there's all these blind spots. So you're able to come in as an objective third party and say, let's look under the hood, let's see why this engine light is
I like the analogy because I actually use that one. When you're a business owner, you're the mechanic. So, like you say, pop the hood. You want that bird's eye view or that mechanic view of the motor, which is your business. And what a good mechanic is going to do is they're going to recognize sounds. They're going to recognize shimmies and shakes and all these little things to make sure that their engine is running like a well-oiled machine. And the moment that they hear something tick or tap, they know exactly where to go. That's a good mechanic, a good business leader.
So when you come into a company, are you working with the CEO? Are you working with the team? Tell us what an engagement looks like.
Usually it's the CEO.
Okay.
Because that's the head.
Yeah.
I have worked with teams, which leadership development type stuff. But yeah, mostly it's the CEO.
And you work one-on-one, but you also work one-to-many.
Yep. So I have 2 parts in my coaching practice, which is the one-on-one with business owners. And I'll do some one-to-many with leadership development executives, stuff like that. But I've also created a space, a community called Moxie Tribe, which is entrepreneurs of all sorts, all different backgrounds that have a place to come to get several different coaches' points of view, not just Jeremy's. And I understand the power of proximity.
Yes.
So that alone, getting in the right room, which I'm the gatekeeper of. Anybody that wants to come into Moxie Tribe has to come through me, and I have to make sure that they're quality. Because I understand that if you take one bad apple and you put it with the bunch, it's going to spoil the bunch.
Yes. And there's an old saying in the business world, not everybody with a checkbook is a good client.
That's right.
And you, as a business owner, you have to know who to bring in and who might be toxic and burn out your team. Why don't you spend a couple minutes talking about attracting the right clients?
Yeah, so, it's all about messaging. If you want to attract the right client, you better make sure your messaging is on point. And I was discussing earlier with a few folks about, that one line mic drop. If you can have one sentence that will make them say, "Hey, I need to work with you. You're my guy." And one that you memorize and believe to the core, that is what you do for people, then you'll attract the right people. I coach other businesses to do this, and I'll tell them, like, hey, I want you to be so honed in on your message that I can wake you up at 2 a.m., break in your house and wake you up and ask you, how do you impact the market? And you'll spit it off without hesitation.
Beautiful. So in the final 2 minutes, why don't you look into the camera on the left and talk to that person who might need to engage you?
Yeah, so business owners, you don't have to do this alone. Okay, you're not on an island. You're not isolated. You're just not tapped into the right group. Find the right one. And Moxie Tribe might not be your ideal group, but find it, because power proximity. If you surround yourself with 5 fools, you'll be the 6th. But if you also surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th.
Wow. Drop the mic. Great way to end the show. We're also going to leave you with his website, which is impactvaluebusiness.com. The great Jeremy Howell. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.